welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing the fourth and final bar of Halloween soap for this collection this year. So this time I wanted to do something a little kind of more like generically spooky, but something I think everybody kind of loves, and it's the idea of a poison apple. I had so much fun with creating this design, doing different techniques that I haven't done too many times before, so it was nice trying to like do a new technique. And yeah, so if you guys want to see how I create this soap, then please keep watching. So I'm starting out a little differently than I usually do. So what I have here is my original base recipe, but I have it divided into 3 equal amounts because this time I'm going to be doing a sculpted layer, and I don't want to run the risk of my batter setting up before I need it. So to ensure that I can get it the right consistency, I have already pre-split up my oils, and I'm going to individually mix them when I'm ready for each layer. So I have 2 layers that are going to be a black, and I have a middle layer that is going to be this green color. Very fun. So for now, these 2 are not going to be used at the moment, so I'm just going to set them off to the side. And I have my first layer here. So this is just colored with black oxide, and I'm just using black oxide from TKB Trading. And the green color is this one. It is called Force of Nature by Nurture Soap. So it's a really fun, vibrant lime green kind of color. So like I mentioned, I'm going to pour these all separately. So I have my lye water solution here, and I have already added in the sodium lactate, and I have already done all the math, so I know exactly how much of the lye water I need to pour into this portion of it, so I'm not mixing the lye to oil amount. So I have my scale here, my handy dandy scale. We're going to use this. All right, so I'm just going to slowly pour in the amount of lye water that I need to mix this layer. This one's going to be about 5.5 ounces of lye water. So I'm just going to be very careful because once I pour it in, I can't take it out. So now I've got my stick blender here, and I'm just gonna blend this. I've already added the fragrance oil. I am using Apples and Oak from Nature's Garden. I had intended to use Green Apple Explosion. It's one of my favorite apple scents, but I didn't realize I was completely out of that one. So this one will suffice. It is a nice apple scent. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this consistency. It's still definitely very runny, but it's just a little bit thicker than at emulsion. That way I can hopefully cut down on the waiting time, because that's the one thing about sculpted layers, especially if you're using fragrance oils. You know, they can really affect how long or how fast your layer set up. To be honest, I can't remember how this fragrance oil reacts, if it's slow or fast, so I'm just gonna err on the side of caution, and if I have to wait around a little bit longer, that is okay with me. Okay, as always, I have my 10 bar mold here, and we are just gonna do a simple pour into the mold, nothing fancy. We're gonna let this set up a little bit till it starts to firm so we can do the first sculpted layer. So I'm just gonna pour this right in here. I want to try to be careful not to get too much of it on the walls of it and muck up the design at all. So just gonna pour that in there. And I find with sculpted layers, you always want to pour a little bit more than you think you need, because you are going to be scraping some of that out. So I want to make sure that I don't over scrape and take out more than I wanted. So I'm gonna scrape all of this out here, pour all of this into my mold. Okay, so that is the first step. Super, super easy. So I'm just gonna let this layer set for a few minutes. I wanna kind of definitely give it a chance to harden up enough to where it will hold its shape when scraped, but also not too hard to where I'm kind of struggling, because I have made my own little scraper design for this one. Typically, if you are super, super fancy or cool, you have a 3D printer and you can like make all this cool stuff all by yourself. I do not have a 3D printer, but I'm definitely looking into getting one in the future because it would be so helpful for what I do. But I have the next best thing. So this is what the scraper that I make is gonna look like. It's kind of like a drippy, oozy kind of shape. And I just did this with my Cricut machine, and I cut it out on thicker cardstock, and I basically just cut out like 4 or 5 copies of the exact same shape and tape them together to give it enough structure to kind of hold together when I scrape it through the design. So of course, in an ideal world, this would be made out of like plastic or something a little bit more durable, but I do just use these as like a one-time use type of thing. So it will get me through tonight, and that is just the cheapest, easiest way I can make sculpted little scrapers for my designs. Okay, it has been about 4 or 5 minutes since I let this set, so I just kind of tested it with like a little spatula to kind of see if it is ready or not. So what you're kind of looking for, it's kind of hard to see with especially a black soap here, but when I tilt it to side, I can see that there is no movement on the top at all. So I know that it's definitely set enough to where a little bit of gravity shifting isn't going to move it. So typically that's about the right time. I think I'm going to scrape from me towards the camera. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put my little scraper tool in here, and I'm going to try to keep it as level as I can. Whew, I was like holding my breath that whole time. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually take this and I'm going to pour it back into my next layer. It's okay that this already has a little bit of lye in it. I can kind of use this to reincorporate it and kind of thin it out a little bit, and it should be just fine. Okay, so now I've got that pretty good. I'm just gonna take a clean spatula, and if I turn this around real quick, you can kind of see a little bit better. On this back side, that's where I scraped it up, so there's definitely gonna be some spots that I need to clean up a bit. So I'm just gonna take my time. I'm gonna carefully go in there with my spatula and just scoop it off that wall and add it in here and just try to clean that up as best as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is an edge piece and I cut those off anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect, just trying to get some of that extra mess out of the way. Okay, so I'm gonna let that layer set up, and we're gonna come back with the next layer after this has had a chance to kind of firm up just enough that it will hold its shape with the next layer being poured on top. Okay, I am ready for the next layer, so I'm going to measure out the next third of the lye, and I'm just gonna do quick bursts with this one. I don't want to get this one nearly as thick as I did the first time because I still want this to be very pourable, especially with it going on top of a textured layer. So I'm just going to blend this really quickly, not long at all. One thing I always hate about working with greens is like the colors tend to like immediately turn to like a nasty swampy green whenever you add the lye. Hopefully it will turn back to the normal green color. There's sometimes some really interesting things that happen with colors and soap, and lye just does really funny things. So hopefully it will turn back to the prettier true green. It's a little more of a Shrek green right now. So hopefully that will turn back to the right color, but I don't know, sometimes it's a mystery even to me. I'm gonna pour it this way so I can see it. Sometimes people like to use their spatula to pour like this to break the fall. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that coordinated, and sometimes I focus too much on the spatula and I make a mess anyway. So I'm just gonna be very careful and pour this very gently and try not to pour too much at once. I just kind of want to get a nice even flow of it, trying to disperse it out just a little bit so it's not all clumping in one spot. Okay, and once I kind of got the whole top of it flooded, I can kind of pour it a little more gently and not have to worry too much about it. And this is supposed to be kind of a messy kind of looking soap anyway, so if there is a little bit of mess to it, I don't mind too much because it kind of works in the favor of this design. It's not supposed to be some perfect, pristine, crisp, clean lines kind of design, so I'm okay if there's just a little bit of mess to it. I think it will kind of add to the character of the soap. I'm gonna let this set for a few minutes and we will come back when it's ready to scrape. I still think this is just a little bit too soft to scrape, but I'm kind of in a time crunch now with trying to get this third layer done. So I'm just gonna start and hope that it's not too liquidy. It is working out pretty well so far. So I'm just gonna keep going with that and scraping. Okay, I'm gonna try to give this just a couple more minutes for that to harden up again so it's got a little bit of weight to it so it will hold underneath the next layer. So we're gonna let that sit for a couple more minutes. Okay, so I have my last bit of the sculpted layer batter, and of course I put the leftover batter in there, so I'm gonna just measure out the last bit of my lye. Okay, I'm gonna take my stick blender and I'm gonna just do this on very short burst because I don't want to get this thicker than it is now. I'm gonna start by just going a little bit on the side. I'm gonna kind of just try doing it from one side, that way it flows the rest of the way through the mold. Pretty much scraped that as clean as I can get it. Okay, I have done the piping. I have done a little bit of green in there. I'm hoping it's gonna turn out right. I don't know, we're just gonna see. I'm just gonna go with it and hopefully it'll look okay. So I'm just gonna start by piping some of this. And oh no, we might have another nightmare soap on our hands. This one is definitely very, very hard to pipe. Ugh. Hoping to kind of get like a little bit of a mix of the green and the black, but I don't know. They kind of didn't set up exactly right, but that's okay. We're just gonna go with it and hope it turns out. Okay, some of the spots it turned out kind of cool, except for right here. It's like a really obviously green spot right there, but I'm just gonna keep piping and you can see some of the green color. The problem I mainly had with this, and I always have this issue and I don't know how to like fix it, but the problem I have is that the batter, the two different batters are setting up at different rates. So the green was definitely not nearly as thick as this one, the black one. I haven't perfected on how to handle that one. Okay, and I feel like it totally needs a drizzle, so I'm gonna take a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna use that same color as before, the Force of Nature, and I'm gonna put a little bit more than I typically would because I really want that green to show up. I want it to be very potent. I have these little mini pipettes that are perfect for this, so I'm gonna suck some of that up, and I'm just gonna start going over the top of it and adding that green all over. I think it definitely looks a little bit more intentional than the green that I had mixed into the piping. And now we are going to add the embeds. So for the embeds, I have these little green apples that I made. I feel like these are just perfect. Kind of adding those right to the center. I really love this. I feel like it looks exactly how I wanted it to look. I can't wait to cut into these and see what the inside looks like. I hope those turned out as well because it was a little hard, and I like doing sculpted layers, but they definitely take some time and patience, and I haven't completely mastered those yet. So I definitely have to like be careful with everything, and I like doing them every once in a while. I haven't done too many of them. I think I've probably done like, this might either be my second or third time doing a sculpted layer. And actually, I'm gonna place this one backwards. I've realized that if I do it that way, it just looks a little bit nicer whenever I cut that last piece, to have it facing the opposite way. That way it doesn't get too close to the edge. I think I want some glitter. Let me see if I have any green glitter. Okay, this is gonna be perfect. I did find a green glitter. I didn't know I had this one. This one is from TK Beach Trading, and it is this gorgeous green glitter. This one is just called Green Microfine. And it's just gonna add a little bit of like sparkle and magic. Yeah, that was definitely the right move. I'm glad I added the glitter. It looks so good. It looks even more magical and mystical. Let me turn it this way so you can see the front of them a little better. So these are what the little apple soap. I'm gonna let these sit for a few days and we're gonna come back and cut them and I will show you what they look like. Okay, you guys, this soap was so much fun to create. I love the vibrancy of the green and the black, and honestly, I didn't know how well it was going to turn out with the sculpted layers, but I am absolutely pleased. This one turned out so great, exactly what I wanted. Even though there are a couple little hitches on the way, I feel like this totally turned out so neat and I'm very happy with this design. It's definitely going to be one I feel like I will bring back in the future just because it was such a good design. So if you're interested in purchasing one of these soaps, they will be available in my Etsy shop on this day for my October Halloween soap collection. So definitely check that out if you are interested in this bar of soap. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram. Link is below. And until my next video, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.